So today I'm going to show you guys how to use Heihachi. I've been interested in this character more obviously because Soul Calibur 2 HD Online came out, and originally when this game was released on console, Heihachi was a banned character because he was only available on the PlayStation 3. However, he was brought to the HD Online version along with Spawn and is now tournament legal. So back in the day when I used to play this game, I never really gave a shit about Heihachi because I was only 100% concerned with tournament strategies exclusively. I never even looked at him just for novelty purposes. I don't know why. At this point, I think it's kind of odd that I never ever really looked at him at all. It just shows to you how it shows to me how much of a competitor I was when I was younger. I really didn't even give a shit about anything but what was allowed in tournaments. I didn't want to fill my hard drive with useless information, you know. But now that he is allowed in tournaments, I have, you know, obviously I want to take a look at him to see what I'm dealing with here, because I do compete still in Soul Calibur 2. And so I took a quick look at him, and then I took a liking to him. I think he's a very interesting character, so I played a few times offline with him, and I basically understand the character more or less. So I thought I'd give you guys a tutorial on how I think he should be used. One thing that I think is very weird about this character is, and I'll show this to you right off the bat because I think it's the most unique thing about the character, and I think it's very peculiar. So in this game, as I've mentioned in the past, B moves will crush through A moves if they collide at nearly the same frames. However, Heihachi's B moves are designed in a weird way where if they whiff and an A collides with them after they whiffed, let's see if I can do that, there you go, it will break through the A even though they're not colliding at the same time. This is a Heihachi exclusive. This only works with Heihachi. And there are a few moves that do this. Let's try a couple other ones. That's down forward B. There you go. You see it break. Down forward A plus B does it as well. There we go. And let's see what else. A lot of his moves will actually do that, which is very peculiar. And it's very much usable and applicable in a real match. I'll give you an example. So if you're playing against an Astaroth player, and Astaroth, as I've mentioned in previous tutorials, that Astaroth's Poseidon's Tide is one of his most important moves. And if you don't know what it looks like, it's a very slow, horizontal A move that you can see coming. So with other characters, it's a decent idea to try GIing it, otherwise you just have to block and deal with it. With Heihachi, if you see Poseidon's Tide start winding up, you can just throw out an A plus B, and it will just break it. It'll break through it. So if you get a break, the opponent cannot block, and the next hit's going to be a counter hit. So if you get a break like that off of his 1+2, or A plus B, sorry, off of his Demon Breath, you get a free forward 2, and it's going to hit on counter hit. You also get a Death Fist. You also get all that shit. So for that reason, Heihachi's pretty good, right? That's the first thing that I noticed about this character. He can crush through A's with moves, you know, that are not supposed to do that. Now, I don't know if this was designed intentionally, but if you just look at the character otherwise, let's say, forget what I just told you, right, about how he can crush through A's. Let's just talk about the character without that. As you can see, in a game with weapons, his general move list is crazy short. He has extremely short range. Really, really bad range. In a game where the opponents have weapons that reach extremely far, you know, in this game, you have nothing. You have just these punches. So it almost feels like they did that intentionally, so that you can use his speed and his punches to crush through the range of the opponent's attacks. And as good as it may seem to you now, it really isn't as easy to apply those crushes as you may think. It still requires some really good reads. Because think about it, you're still attacking into an attack. So you couldn't get counter hit, and you know, it's very risky to use his Bs in that way to crush through As. Not to mention, That's one thing that keeps it from being extremely cheap. And the other thing is that Heihachi is the only character in this game that cannot 2G. Now 2G, I don't know if you know what that means. It's the third and most important option you have when you've been GI'd in this game. So your first option is to GI with forward, which beats mid and high attacks. And your second option is to GI with back, which beats mid and low attacks. Now, the third option is 2G, which is generally the most important option because you can block instantaneously after you've been GI'd. However, with Heihachi, you cannot do it. I tried multiple times over and over, and I was very shocked to discover that he cannot 2G. The next thing I did was I went over to Spawn, and I tested him out, and Spawn can 2G, so it's not like the guest characters cannot 2G. I also, after that, tested every other character in the game, just in case maybe it's something to do with the Soul Calibur 2 HD online version, and that is also not the case. So Heihachi is actually the only character in the game that cannot 2G after he's been GI'd. In a high-level scenario, that is a big, huge flaw in the character's design. It's almost like he cannot GI. It's not quite as bad as not being able to GI at all, but it's comparable because 2G is a system-wide feature that every character can use, and it helps to tie the cast's balance together. 2G is basically one of the reasons why characters like Raphael or the weaker characters in the game are able to still win at a high level because it's a equalizer, really, and he doesn't have that. So I definitely think that him not having 2G combined with his short range in general makes him I wouldn't call him a weak character because he does have some really cheap stuff, but it's going to take quite a bit of work and defensive knowledge to win with Heihachi because basically your range is so poor, you're going to have to use step guard and the correct defense in general to get in from full screen. That's really the hardest part. I spent most of my time with Heihachi playing against Tidy Whitey's Nightmare, and it was very difficult for me to get in on him. However, once I did get in, it was really a struggle for him to deal with my offense. Now, obviously, that is a matter of, information. The more you learn about your opponent, obviously you're going to get better about defending against him, and that is what happened eventually with Tidy Whitey. But once you get in, that's really where you can start applying your, offense. And his speed combined with his B moves, and I'll get into every move in general later, but all these jabs are all B moves. And as I mentioned, B moves, they crush through A moves in this game. So most of his good offense comes from his Bs, and for that reason, you're going to end up crushing through A's, even unintentionally at times. So, it's an interesting character design. I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure exactly where he falls on the tier list because the character is very unexplored. But I have discovered a bunch of stuff with him, and I know his bread and butter concepts. So let's just get right into that. Basically, his primary main tools are, for lows, his number one best lows are K down, which is his Geta Stomp. This low is very, very important because it's safe on block, it tracks very well to his right side, and it's on counter hit a launcher. So if you counter hit with this, Twin Pistons into Demon Breath is a combo. You can also land an electric afterwards, but I find that in this game, electrics are not really... They're good, but they may not be worth all the effort because you're doing a Twin Pistons into a Demon Breath at 68 damage, and an electric into Death Fist, which is the best thing you can do, is 73 damage, which is only 5 points more. So the amount of work you have to do to get an electric to come out at the speed of down forward 2, which I believe, I haven't done the testing on the numbers, but I think down forward 2 is 13 frames. And that's pretty fast. It might even be faster. It might be 12 frames or even 11 frames possibly. And it is a mid, and it's a B, so it's going to crush through lots of stuff. So this move is exceptionally good, and there isn't really that much reason because of this move, as well as down forward A plus B, which is kind of like a generic Mishima down forward 2 in Tekken. That move also is a B and also is mid, and on counter hit it's going to launch. So I'm not exactly sure how good electrics are in this game. What I find, though, is that electrics are not that good. Also, on block, they're not as good as they are in Tekken either. So, an electric on block... Let me see if I could get this more onto block. Stand, guard, all. So, an electric on block has a slight pushback like that. And this is a Wind God Fist on block. It looks like that. But I don't think that it's much frame advantage, if any. It might be. I haven't tested it yet, but it doesn't look like a ton of frames to me. That's an electric in this game. It has fire on it instead of electricity. Let's see. That's a regular Wind God Fist, and that's an electric Wind God Fist. It's very subtle in this game. There's no sound of an electric or anything like that, so it's very interesting how they designed it. But to be honest with you, again, I think Twin Pistons is much more usable as a punish and as just a general move than electrics in this game. Now, that is basically the department where Heihachi shines. If your defense is really good with Heihachi, you can basically punish a shitload of ridiculously safe stuff with Twin Pistons. One example of this is you can punish Shanghua's AAB on block with Twin Pistons and launch it. With every other character that I can recall, you can barely hit them with a mini poke after that because of how good that move is. But Heihachi, he can really do a shitload of damage on block. Now, another thing that's interesting about Heihachi is that because of the nature of his crouch dash, if you buffer his crouch dash off of something on block, so let's say I'm going to use, you can buffer it off of anything, but on block, if you buffer it, you can get Twin Pistons to come out if you do it just right. So basically, I'll show you an example by having this guy do an AA. Let's do a BB. See if I can do it. You know what's an even better example? Because there's no record function in this game. What I want to emphasize here is if you block something and buffer a crouch dash and you do it just right, no matter what, you're going to get a down forward 2, which means you're going to get a Twin Pistons. So basically, if you block a low with Heihachi and you buffer in a crouch dash, you can do Twin Pistons from crouch, which means you can punish basically any low in the game with Twin Pistons if you block it. So this is where Heihachi shines. His Twin Pistons is one of the best punishers in the game, and you can do it from crouch. So that's the example right there. As you can see, if I duck under the A and buffer the crouch dash and do it just right, you get a Twin Pistons. It's kind of difficult against an A like this, but let's try it. There we go. That was it, but I got counter hit. Let's try it from across the screen. I did it several times against Tidy Whitey, and it's quite good. There it is. So basically, you duck, and then you buffer the crouch dash, and if you do it just right, you get a Twin Pistons. And it takes some practice, but you know, if you get used to it, it's not that hard to do. And basically what that means is you're able to punish a shitload of lows. Like Nightmare's Hell Sweep and Nightmare's Crouch Throws are both launch punishable against Heihachi. So, you know, Heihachi has a lot of things about him that are really, really cheap, and on the other hand, he has some things that are really shitty. Like his range is very shitty, and he can't 2G. So he's really an interesting character overall. I think that his character design is very peculiar, and he is usable, and I, at this point at least, don't think he's that cheap because of just the range issue. You really have to have extremely good defense and knowledge in this game to be able to apply him in the way that he has to be played to win. So let's go into his move list, and I'll talk about some of the details of his moves. His AAB is interesting. It's high, high, mid, and the last hit can be charged to a guard crush, which is what makes it quite good. Other than that, there's nothing too exciting about this move. It's not even a counter hit combo as far as I know. Yeah, it's not. So, you know, this is an interesting string, but it does work for pressure situations because the first two hits are AA, and those hits will track to keep your opponent from stepping. And then at that point, once they've either blocked or had it hit, you can decide whether you want to do a partial charge on the third hit, or if you want to do a full charge, in which forward forward 2 must be re-GI'd or 2G'd. At that point, you can do AAB, they block it, forward forward B, and then if they're GIing that, you could charge that, which is also a guard crush. So this guard crush vortex that he can put you in is pretty pesky for your opponent to deal with. Unless they are 2G'ing, which is exactly why I said that without 2G, it's a pretty large disadvantage, especially in the scenarios like the one I'm bringing up right now. Anyway, moving on. His AK is really kind of shitty. It is, I think, a counter hit combo, but I don't think it's really that valuable overall. Because he has other counter hit tools that are better than this, so I wouldn't really focus too much on that. Let's see, forward AB. This is an interesting move. So forward A is this back fist, which kind of sucks. Forward A, a tilde B, is another way to do his Demon Breath. Now this Demon Breath version is cancelable, like the one in Tekken. However, there is a just frame in this game for this Demon Breath, which you just saw right there, in which it connects first, and then you cancel it. It's kind of tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it is a launcher. So you can do Demon Breath and then sidestep to cancel it. I'm trying to get the just frame. There we go. And that is a combo. You have to time it just right. It is a just frame. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but Demon Breath is a mid, and it is safe, I think, and it is a launcher. So you have to practice just frame. I'm fucking it up a grip right now, but it's not that hard. There we go. Man. There we go. So you get 102 damage off of Demon Breath if you do the just frame, which is quite good. This move is really fast. Demon Breath is a really fast move, and it's mid also. And as I mentioned, I think it's safe. It's pretty safe. If not, it's only punishable by very quick moves. So yeah, this is something that you're going to want to remember. Demon Breath into sidestep cancel after it hits, and then 1+2, another Demon Breath, or A+B, sorry. I'm going to fuck that up a ton during this tutorial, I'm sure. So yeah, this is definitely something to keep in mind with as a Heihachi player. It's pretty solid. Moving on, forward A. So forward A is definitely an important move because Heihachi lacks good long-range moves. And though this move is quite slow, it does have very good range. It will beat things like Nightmare's 66B. It gives you a knockdown. It will also ring out, and it's very safe on block. So this is another move that you have to keep in mind because it's the type of move that Heihachi does not have. This is a rare move for him because it has decent range and it has decent tracking and it's mid. That's something that you have to keep in mind to close space with this character. Interesting. So Jinkinator in the chat just said, "Hey Eris, I just checked the PlayStation 2 version and Heihachi can 2G in it." Wow, I did not know that. I didn't go back and test that myself because I guess it doesn't really matter in this context, but that's interesting. I wonder what the deal is with that. Let me just really quickly double or quadruple check because I already checked a million times. Yeah, he can't do it. He cannot 2G in this version of the game. Very odd. I wonder why. Maybe he could not 2G in the PAL version of the PS2 game. That's possible. If you're interested again in finding out what 2G exactly is, I've done a tutorial and talked about it in the past. So if you want to see that, you can search for Soul Calibur 2 system tutorial on my channel. And there's also an episode of ATP Live in which I invited Tidy Whitey on, and we discussed the importance of step guard and 2G in that episode as well. So if you're interested in learning that, go check that out. I've also talked about it several times in the past. But yeah, really peculiar how he cannot 2G in this game. Anyway, moving on. And he is the only character that can't do it, which is very, very odd. Let's see. Down forward A is kind of a shitty move. I don't like it because it's so slow. It is mid, however, and has tracking to the right side. and on counter hit it will double overstun, so you could do something like a throw or whatever afterwards. And Heihachi, you know, at this point you may be thinking like, Heihachi's fucking weird. Trust me, he gets weirder. There's a lot of weird shit about this character that will make you think like, what the hell? That's nothing like he is in Tekken. As I mentioned earlier, he can punch through A attacks, which is really interesting. He has this weird Demon Breath just frame, and there's a shitload more to come, so, you know, hang on to your butts. This character is weird. His down A is kind of shitty. I don't like it that much. I prefer his down back B. His down back B is kind of like a down 2 in Tekken. He also has a, let's see, full crouch down back B, which is like a down 1. This is his full crouch down back B, and this is his standing down back B. I think his down back B is really good for use as a high crushing poke. It's good for that. It's very, very fast, and because it's a B, again, it will crush through A attacks. So this is one thing that, you know, is really interesting about this character. His down A also works. It's a little slower, and the range is a little shorter, but it does work for it, you know, a quick interrupt, and it does track a little bit better than his down back B. So it's useful for that. His down back A is his Tekken Tag 2, a kind of version of his Tekken Tag 2 move, but in this game it really, really sucks because you have Get a Stomp, which is K down, and that's a really, really good low. And then you have back B, which is another low he has, which is safe on block as well. However, down back A is not safe on block. In fact, I think it's launch punishable. So for that reason, I don't think it's very good in this game. Also, on counter hit, it knocks down like that. But still not really worth using, especially considering he has Get a Stomp, which is safe, and back B, which is also safe. So safety is the key here, and those moves basically make down back A kind of obsolete. Let's see. Back A is kind of, it's his back 2, I think it is, from Tekken. It's okay. I wouldn't use it all that much because it's a bit slow, especially for its range. And as far as I know, let's see what it does on counter hit. Yeah, just a knockdown. Doesn't give you a stun or anything, so it's not really the most valuable move. I like 6-6 A a lot more than that move because it's comparable in speed and it has more range. And it's also mid and has tracking as well. His A plus B I talked about. It's a decent move in general. It's not cancelable if you just do A plus B. You have to do forward A tilde B to do the just frame version. Man, I'm really fucking that up today. There it goes. It's not really that hard. It's forward A tilde B, and then hit down or up at the right time, and you cancel it after the move connects. There we go. So yeah, his regular Demon Breath, though it's good, it's mid, it's fast, and it gives you a down, and I think a down B is a combo afterwards. Yeah, so that's a combo afterwards on normal hit. However, you know, it's not the most applicable move in the game, so you should just use it sparingly. Down forward A plus B is basically the generic down forward 2 from Tekken. It is a mid. It does launch on counter hit, so it is usable for some scenarios. And it's safe on block. And the thing is, just remember that with Heihachi, anything that's considered a B move is much, much more valuable than A moves because he can punch through opposing A attacks with this. So that's one thing that's really useful about it. Back A plus B is basically the third hit of his AAB. You can do it quickly or you can charge it to guard crush and it knocks down in that case. It's usable. It's pretty good for a guard crushing move because it doesn't have a huge animation, as you can see. So the opponent will hesitate very often with that. Forward A is another way to do Demon Breath. I mentioned it earlier. It's basically what you use to cancel to do the just frame version. 3-3-A is a very peculiar move. I thought that I would use it a lot more in match, but I don't use it that much in match. It doesn't really... it does good damage. It's a natural combo, high, and it also has tracking, but it doesn't really seem like it's that useful, though I have a feeling that it high crushes, so I want to test that before I move on. It might high crush, and if so, it might have some value that I didn't see in it initially. And it does high crush, but maybe not that well. Yeah, see, I'm getting I'm getting counter hit out of it, though it is high crushing at times. So it could be good for its high crush purposes, but I didn't use it that much in match, so it wasn't. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. His down A. Let me make this idiot stop doing A's. His down down A is an interesting move. It also tracks and is high, but it gives a knockdown. The good thing about this move's knockdown is it rings out from very far away. So this is something you can use to corner trap the opponent near the ring if they're trying to wiggle out of a ring out situation. But otherwise, it's not really that big of a deal, in my opinion. Back A, initially, I thought this move would be very good. Because on counter hit, it's mid, and on counter hit, you get a free twin pistons into a shitload of damage. 107 damage in this game is quite a bit. So I thought it would be a pretty good move, but it's so slow and it has limited range as well. So I'm finding myself not using this move in a real match because it's just too slow. It's not applicable. It doesn't fit Heihachi's playstyle because Heihachi's playstyle is all about speed, crushing through people's A's, as well as getting in. You're going to spend half of your time getting in on the opponent and using step guard or double crouch dashes like that into death fists or whatever to get in. So really, it's not that easy to, you know, to apply this move with this character. It doesn't really suit him that well. See, moving on, forward A plus B is another, oh, this is actually interesting. So from running, he has a bunch of, you know, character-specific moves. Obviously, every character has the running slide. That's a universal. But Heihachi has a running cross chop, which is really good because it's safe on block and mid, and is a very solid mix-up for the running slide. On top of that, he has a running shoulder tackle like that, like from Tekken, which is also mid. It does not track, and it also is not unblockable either. So it's a decent move, does a lot of damage. But another thing that I found to be very weird about this character is, and I'll show you that right now. So this is what the running cross chop looks like on block. But the running tackle, which you guys recognize from Tekken, doesn't look really normal on block. This is what it looks like on block. It looks kind of like a blocked ultimate tackle from Tekken. But on hit, it converts into a second hit, which looks like the unblockable shoulder charge from Tekken, which is that. So really, really an odd move. Another one of those moves that I mentioned earlier. It's a very peculiar type of moves. Let's see, moving on. While standing A is an extremely important move with him because you can do it from crouch and out of wave dash as well. The way it works basically is you do while standing A and it hits as a high and it tracks, but it turns the opponent around. So even if the opponent is holding guard, which is what the opponent is set to do here, if they're holding guard, they're still going to get side thrown on hit, which is really, really good for an offensive tool. If the opponent tries to attack, at times you will get a back throw as well. So it's a really interesting move. It turns them around, so a throw is a good option afterwards. Until they start ducking, at that point, you're going to be able to employ your mid mix-ups. Really is a solid tool for this character, and it's pretty fast too, so pretty good. While crouching A is basically just his typical down A, so nothing special there. Let's talk about his B moves, which are really what's more important with this character. His BBA is that string. I think it's a counter hit combo. Yeah, it is. I wouldn't use it for a counter hit combo because he has a 6 BBA, which is his 112. I'm sorry, is that 6 BBB? Yeah, it is. 6 BBB is a hit confirmable knockdown counter hit combo. So I would use this over BBA any day of the week, because you're going to get the hit confirm just like in Tekken, and you can delay it. Very, very easy to hit confirm this, just like in Tekken. And you get a knockdown, which is very valuable in this game. So that's pretty obsolete, basically. BBA is not really that good. You can also do BBA into Demon Breath. However, I don't think the Just Frame applies off of this string. The Just Frame that I showed you earlier off of Demon Breath, I don't think applies to this string. I tried it earlier, and it didn't seem to work. So that's not really that great of a string either. BBK, I think, might also be a counter hit combo. Let me double check that. It is. So that might be actually better than forward BBB. Let's double check the properties. Okay, it didn't work that time. Let's see why. Okay, so it has to be a clean hit, which means that not that good. Let's double check it again. Interesting. I wonder why it didn't work that one time. Well, BBA is an option, it looks like. I don't know if it's safe. Let me check if it's hit confirmable. Counter hit confirmable, that is. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's counter hit confirmable either. So if you have a hard read that you're going to get a counter hit, BBK is an option. You get a knockdown at 51 points. You might get a free hit afterwards. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what you can get for free at that range, but I still think 6 BBB is really good because it's so easily hit confirmable, 51 damage into a knockdown. I really like that move overall. That's what I just talked about, 6 BBB. Keep in mind, third hit is unsafe, so it can be dangerous. 6B back AB is basically the classic Heihachi string. 6B back A is just his jab into his back A. I'm not sure exactly on all the properties of this string. I can test them out now. It's not a counter hit combo. Let's see what the second hit does on counter hit. Does not knock down on counter hit, but I have a feeling that the second hit on counter hit into the third hit might be a combo, so let's check that. Nope, it's not. So this string is very gimmicky, basically. This is an extremely gimmicky string. I would not recommend using it very often. It's totally gimmicky. You can also do the kick afterwards, which is safe, but again, in a game like Soul Calibur, strings like these are not good because the opponent has a GI, and at any point they can GI you, and as Heihachi, you don't want to be GI'd because you cannot 2G as a response to a GI. So GIing against Heihachi is an exceptionally good tool. If you're playing against a Heihachi player, you're going to want to try to GI him as much as possible because he's going to have to deal with your post-GI in the old-fashioned style. So he cannot 2G, as I've mentioned already, and that's really going to hinder him overall as a character. Let's see what this move is. Okay, that's another version of Demon Breath. Let's see if that's a counter hit combo. I don't think it is, but I'm going to check anyway. How the fuck did you even do that command? 6BAB. Oh, yeah, that's shitty. I tested this move out. It's not really, you know, it's another one of his punch strings. I'll emphasize the important ones, which are 6BBB so far. That's an important punch string with him. 6-6B Demon Uppercut is basically a signature move for him in Tekken as well as this game. It's one of your high crushing long. It basically functions very similarly to the way it does in Tekken in terms of range and tracking and high crushing and properties. However, on counter hit, it gives you much more damage and a higher launch, which means that if you do the follow-up Death Fist, which is the combo for it, you also get the added damage of them hitting the ground. So as you can see, the move does 42, but an additional 14 damage when they hit the ground. So when you do a counter hit Demon Uppercut, let them hit the ground to do the 14 points damage, and then hit with the Death Fist to get maximum damage off of a counter hit Demon Uppercut, which is 96 damage. Very good. It's also safe on block, and the thing that makes it exceptionally good in this game is that if you charge it, it will be a guard crush. And this is the guard crush vortex with Heihachi. So if you get them to block a Demon Uppercut, the next Demon Uppercut is unblockable. They have to re-GI it. Or 2G it, of course. Like that. So if they start re-GIing it, that means you can do another full charge Demon Uppercut. So this is the big guard crush vortex with Heihachi. It's pretty good overall, but keep in mind that if your opponent does a 2G, it is going to nullify this this setup situation. Because they're just going to block the... They're going to be able to block the quick Demon Uppercut, and then they're just going to sidewalk away from the slow guard-crushing Demon Uppercut. And I noticed in the chat, Man of the Leaf asked if it tracks at all. It has similar tracking to the Tekken counterpart. So what that means is, in Tekken, you cannot sidestep 6-6B, but you can sidewalk it. In this game, you can't really step guard it, but you can 8-way run it. You can 8-way run it. So it's similar in that sense. It's one of Heihachi's few moves that share properties in application like that in Tekken. From Tekken, I mean. Down forward BB is probably his most important move, or one of his most important moves. Because, as I mentioned, it's your main whiff punisher, it's your main block punisher, it's your main whiff punisher from up close, but it's your main block punisher and it can punish a ton of stuff. Shanghua's AAB, Nightmares, full crouch throws, or Hell Sweep. Again, you can block something low, and if you buffer in a crouch dash, you can do Twin Pistons. Just, let me see if I can do it for you. Like that. It's like, the command for it is down plus guard, a tilde down forward without releasing guard, and then a tilde down forward BB. So it's like you crouch, and in the first few frames of a crouch, you can do a twin piston. What that means is, let me see if I can have him throw so you guys can see good application of that. Let's see if his kick is a good choice. I don't know why it's so difficult to do today. Maybe I just have to practice up, because the other day, I might put these matches up as well. The other day I streamed a set with Tidy Whitey, and I was using that very consistently to go under his, just like that, to go under his 6A keep out. I don't understand why I'm having so, there it goes. It's just something that you have to practice. It's not the easiest technique in the world, but it's really important to practice it up, because if they're trying to keep you out with highs, this is going to be really, really good for punishing those highs. There we go. There we go. That's how you do it. You duck under the high, and then if you do it just right, you can do a twin piston afterwards, despite the fact that you're in crouch. So, really, really good. Let's see. Moving on, I mentioned twin pistons is really good, but however, I have to emphasize that just like in Tekken, this move is no longer in Tekken, but previously in previous Tekken games it was, and in those games it was extremely unsafe on block, and that is also the case in this game. It is launch punishable by many characters, and very dangerous if it is blocked, so you have to make sure you use it as a punish. That's very important. Down BB is an interesting move. I like down B on its own. You can hit confirm. Actually, you cannot hit confirm the second hit, but it is a counter hit combo if you do it fast. So if you commit, that is a counter hit combo. Down B is kind of like his normal every other character's B, because he doesn't have standard Bs. His B is a standing jab. So his down B is kind of, it acts in properties as standard Soul Calibur style Bs, because it has slightly longer range. It has kind of an arc in terms of active hit window, and it just functions overall like the type of a B that you need in this game. So he has that kind of thing if you need it. Also, the second follow-up is, as I mentioned, really good for a knockdown as a counter hit combo, and I think it's safe. Down back B, as I mentioned, is his down jab. You should use that as your down A. Back B is another move that he has in Tekken. In this game, it's another move that you can use to crush A's. On counter hit, it knocks down, and I think it gives a free down back K. Let me double check that. Back B, down back K is a combo. It is also safe on block, but not advantageous on block, though it looks like it. It's a decent move overall, not that bad. Back B is a really important low because it's safe on block, and it does a good amount of damage at 28 damage, so not too bad. On counter hit, you're going to get that interesting pushback. I think that also yields plus frames. So you can apply pressure afterwards, but personally speaking, I think that back B, get a stomp, which is K down, and hell sweeps are Heihachi's best lows in this game, combined with his throws. And his throws are also interesting too. I'll get to them later. His electric is done with crouch dash. He has two crouch dashes in this game. Similar to Tekken, the way he used to have it in Tekken. He has a regular quarter circle forward crouch dash, which is called a roll dash generally, and he has a Mishima style crouch dash as well. His Mishima style crouch dash into B is how you do his electric. I mentioned earlier that his electrics are not that good in this game, though they are mid, because they're kind of linear and their range is weak. And on block, they are not that much plus, unlike the Tekken versions. So not that impressive as far as a move in general. However, it does exist, and it's something that you can keep in mind. If you hold it, you get the Thunder God Fist. So if you tap it, you get an Electric Wind God Fist. If you hold it, you get a Thunder God Fist. Again, Thunder God Fists are not that good in this game. I don't think they're safe on block. I'm going to double check it right now. Oh, it has interesting pushback. That might be better than I thought. That's a weird pushback it has. That might be safe against a lot of characters, actually. And I know his Thunder Godfist has good high crushing abilities. It goes under highs really well. So this move might be good. This is one of those moves that needs to be explored further. But it might be good if it's safe. Interesting. I wonder if you can do anything else off of this move. This is all a learning process, even for me, you know, so... I think maybe if the wall is nearby, you can get a combo. Anyway, I haven't explored that move too much yet, but Thunder God Fist might be something you might want to look into. I'm not sure if it might even be a guard crush. Yeah, it's a guard crush. Let's see if it's a level 1 or what. Yeah, it's a level 2 guard crush. Not too bad. It's another option, I guess. Let's see. Down B plus K is unblockable. It's really shitty in this game and slow. It also doesn't hit on the ground, but you can guard cancel it early. Like that. It's not the best cancel in the world either, so it's not really that useful. 6-6B is basically what I discussed already. 3-3B is basically the same move as well. 2-2BB is going to give you his down BB, same in properties. Nothing too useful for that move. Talked about that. Back B, I talked about that. Decent low. While standing B is an extremely important move for this character. It has very, very good sidestepping properties. This move will kick the shit out of Nightmare because it goes in the direction that his 3B does not track. So on Okazemi, if I'm knocked down and he tries to do a 3B while I'm waking up, that will beat his 3B. So his Heihachi's while standing B is an exceptionally good tool. Really, really good. Mid, safe, good frames on hit, and the cherry on the whatever the fuck the saying is that if you counter hit with this move, you get a free Twin Pistons into 117 damage. So abuse the fuck out of this move because it is really, really good. Safe, evasive, while standing B that's mid and is also a B. And on counter hit, you're going to get a full launcher into a shitload of damage. 50% almost. I think 120 damage in this game is 50%. So it's just under 50%. Really, really, really good move. This move is going to be the one. This is the one that you have to focus on. Just in your offense, you have to sprinkle in instant while standing B off the ground. If you're being woken up, this is the one move that you're going to want to sprinkle in on occasion, especially if they're waking you up with B attacks. It's a really, really good move, especially because of that damage. It's really rare in this game to get damage like that, so this is one of the things that makes Heihachi exceptionally good. Alright, let's see. Full crouch while standing B is that. Full crouch down back B is his generic down jab. Not really that good because of the range. His get a stomp I mentioned earlier is one of his most important lows because it's safe on block. And it does decent damage, but on counter hit, you're going to land another Twin Pistons, which is what I mentioned. Really, really good for that. Good damage. And safe on block, again. 6K is his axe kick. It works pretty similarly as it does in Tekken. You get slight frames on block and hit, and you can advance with offense. Not too shabby. Let me get some water. All right, let's see. 66KK is his hunting hawk. It's okay because he doesn't have very many moves that have range in this game. However, it's very linear. So if you're going to use it to get in, you should try to use it in a scenario where the opponent is probably not going to sidewalk because it can be sidestepped and it is very risky. It is mid-mid. I think it's safe on block. And it's pretty good overall. Not too great, but it's not bad. Let's see. Down forward K, kind of a shitty move. It's the beginning of his 10 string in this game. But you can only do his 10 string in this game with Soul Charge level 3. I'll get to that a little later. But he does have 10 strings in this game that are pretty interesting. Pretty solid. Let's see. His down K is pretty good because it has good reach and it's pretty fast. But it is unsafe on block, launch punishable, so you have to be careful with that. Also, his down back K is really good for a down back K because it's faster than average down back Ks, and it has very, very good range. So you can punish Nightmare's 3B on block with this 100% of the time. So basically at this point you probably are discovering that Heihachi is pretty good against Nightmare, except for the fact that he cannot 2G, and Nightmare's post GI, if you cannot 2G, is a fucking nightmare. You know, it's really bullshit because he has a ton of 50% moves that are also plus on block, and they're really, really good. So you know, you got to be careful. If you're Heihachi, you don't want to get GI'd basically. Down back K, talked about that. Back K is his high hitting roundhouse kick. On counter hit, this does stun and give you a launcher, but because it's a high and because it's kind of linear, I don't really like this move that much. I prefer using while standing B if you're trying to get that counter hit launcher. Like that. Let's see. Back K is this move here. I think it kind of sucks. It's not even worth doing because it's mid and it's very, very linear. He has a ton of moves that take the place of that move, and they're much faster and have more tracking. Heihachi's hell sweeps are very interesting in this game. You could do 1 into a tsunami kick, you could do 2 into a tsunami kick, and you could do 3 into a tsunami kick. And as you can see, if the opponent blocks them, it does not stagger. So it's like Tekken 4's Just Frame hell sweeps. They go right through the opponent. He also has Thunder God Fist option afterwards. So it seems really good from this juncture. However, if your opponent, it's kind of a gimmick because your opponent can GI the second and third and fourth hits no matter what because you don't have a high option. So basically, if your opponent blocks a hell sweep and does a backwards GI, they're going to beat you no matter what you do. And as I mentioned, you don't want to be GI'd by the opponent. So it's very dangerous against an advanced opponent to use his hell sweep mix-ups. However, I should mention that his hell sweep, the first hit, because it's very hard to see. Oops. Guard second attack. The first hit is very hard to see, so you can use the first hit on hit to mix up the second and third hits, which are not that bad. On top of that, you can, on counter hit, land 2 of them into an axe kick. That is very, very hard to air control, which though it is hard, it is air controllable, it's very difficult to do it. And I've seen people, even good players, get hit by it, and then I myself have gotten hit by it as well. So I do want to mention that his hell sweep, 2 of them into tsunami kicks, is pretty decent on counter hit. Let's see, moving on. This is all basically the hell sweep stuff. This is another tool he has to get in. It's his crouch dash K, and you can also do crouch dash K down, which does the low. Basically not a lot to talk about here. They're linear. Both hits I believe are safe, but the low might be a bit unsafe. It's one of those tools that you have to use kind of to get in. 6-6A is a lot safer to use, so I would recommend that over the jumping mid kicks, but you know, it's something to know. Up forward KK is a very important round ender. The reason for that, it seems very shitty, but the reason for that is if your opponent blocks the first hit of this, the second hit is literally unblockable. Now you have to be very close when you do this, because if you do it from far away, they can block it, as you can see there. However, if you're very close and your opponent blocks this, they are not going to be able to crouch block the second hit. So it's high-low. If the second hit hits, you, I think, get a free hit there, yep. You might be able to get more. I'm not sure what's guaranteed off of this, but you do get a free hit, and it is unblockable if you're close enough. Like that. The opponent cannot block the second hit. Very peculiar string, but very usable, especially in a situation where you want to kill your opponent. It only does 19 points, but the down B is guaranteed afterwards. And there might be other stuff guaranteed as well. I'm not sure what is actually guaranteed. There might be something better, which makes this... it could make this a very, very good tool. But otherwise, I think it's good for ending the round. Demon Scissors is basically his demon flip in this game. I should mention that it is a level 3 soul charge unblockable. So, and it leaves you on the ground. So it's not the most unsafe soul charge unblockable in the world. So pretty good. and it also jumps in the air. 3-3K is just a 6-6K, which is something that I haven't talked about yet, so I will. Standing guard second attack. 6-6K, 3-3K is the same as his. Can you do it from standing? 6K, 6-6K is that? Wow, I guess you can only do it as 3-3K. 3-3K is going to give you a knockdown on regular hit. It's safe on block. It's gonna stagger on block. And on hit, you get, let's see, I think you get, if you hit with a shallow hit, you get a standing down back K, which is pretty good. Otherwise, you get a 70% down back K, which is not too bad. It's a decent mid overall. It's usable. Down K is another low that you don't need to use with him. Though it does high crush, I still think that back B and K down get a stomp are better. However, this move is decent because it's so fast. It's a very quick low out of 8-way run, but it's unsafe on block, and you will be launched if they block it. Back K, I already talked about that move, kind of shitty. While standing KK tsunami kicks, the only thing that I should mention about this move is that it's safe on block. So unlike Tekken, which in Tekken it's launch punishable on block, in this game it's safe on block, so you can use it as your while standing punish, or even as a, you know, as a poke type of a move from while standing. Pretty good. Full crouch down back K, nothing too important, it's just a down kick. Moving on to his throws. Let's look at all his throws as well. His A throw does the noogie at 55 damage, which is totally average in this game. It gives pretty decent Okazemi as well. Down B is a good option afterwards. And as I mentioned, 55 damage is average, so nothing too special there. His B throw is his power bomb. Again, similar Okazemi at 55 damage, so pretty average there. However, he does have a unique command throw at 6-6 A plus B. I'm sorry, 6-6 B plus G is how you do the command throw. It's his stone head. In this game, it pushes out and does not wall splat, and also does not ring out, unfortunately. I'll show you what that looks like. So it doesn't ring out either, but what makes this throw really good is that if you, let's make him crouch so you can see exactly why this is important. If you make the opponent crouch, you can see that a running throw in this game looks like that. So if I'm running and I do a throw, it's going to stop like that and have kind of a delay before it impacts. However, his running B plus G grab, it acts like a shining wizard from Tekken. Now, Heihachi doesn't have this in Tekken, but in this game, that's really good because you could do something like a down A and literally do it like a shining wizard, and you can have a long-range throw option at any point. So you could do anything into a running long-range throw, which you cannot do with his... So this is another thing that Heihachi has that's very peculiar and really, really good. So keep that in mind. Really, really a good throw because of that. Moving on, we could look at his side throws and back throw. His back throw is the standard from Tekken. His side throw, both of them are also Tekken side throws. Pretty good Okazemi off of all of his throws, which is pretty good in general. A lot of characters off of their side and back throws don't get good Okazemi, so it's not too terrible. Let's see. Moving on, here are his 10 strings. These are the full commands. I'll show you what they look like here. That's the first one. They're sped up in this game, which is what makes them good in this game. They're hard to GI in between, so they're unique strings. If you look, they really are very fast between hits. So they are usable if you are soul charged to level 3. You have to be soul charged to level 3 to do them. Now, there is something that he has, which is coming up in the next thing, which is an auto GI. Now, this auto GI is interesting because it auto GIs mid, special mid, and I think high A's. So I'll have the opponent do an A right now so you can see what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Now, what it does is it automatically puts you in soul charge level 3. So what that means is you have access to all of your guard crushes, which Crouch Dash B is one, Thunder God Fist is one. There's a bunch. You can look those up. There's a bunch of them. But it gives you access to that. It also gives you access to his unblockable Demon Scissors. But on top of all that, you can access his 10 strings. as I mentioned earlier. So from this situation, you can do something like that. Boom, boom, hell sweep, whatever, whatever, and do your 10 string. Not too shabby, but I have to say that his auto GI is a bit riskier than what it's worth, because you take quite a bit of risk, you know, putting that out there, and if you don't land it, you're out in the open big time. And if you do land it, you're not guaranteed any damage either. So it's a bit riskier than what it's worth, to be honest, especially at a high level. But it's an interesting mechanic that the character has, so I think it's something that you should consider. Another thing that I should mention is that if you hit A plus K after you do a regular GI, like that, you auto soul charge very quickly to level 3. However, you cannot block, so this is obviously a bug. The game is registering that you're in post-GI state, and it's thinking that you did an auto-GI with back A plus K. So, obviously this is a bug to me. There's no way to use this because the opponent can follow up immediately and hit you. Even if the opponent whiffs an re-GI, like if I GI him and he whiffs a re-GI, he can still literally punish me with a counter hit. After that, so it's really not that useful in that way, or in any way actually, if you think about that. Let's see, what's 6A plus B? Oh yeah, these are his running moves. I talked about his cross chop. It's pretty good. I use it a lot for a mix-up for his running slide, which is decent. It's a very solid mix-up. Off the ground, he has some moves that you can get you off the ground, which are A plus B, which does a forward roll into cross chop, which actually sucks a lot because during the forward roll, you are considered attacking. So if they hit you while you're forward rolling, it will be a counter hit, and therefore very, very dangerous. His back A plus B is the backwards version. It is a little better because it's more evasive and it's safe. But again, if you're hit while he's back rolling, you're going to get counter hit, so it's very dangerous. His B plus K is really good though because it's much quicker. It's his Chinese get up from Tekken. And it's safe on block, which is really good. And it has an active hit window and knocks down. So really, really solid way to get off the ground on occasion. Especially compared to his cross chop versions. That basically covers all his move list, but I do want to talk about his while landing and jumping moves really quick before we call it a tutorial here. His jumping moves are really interesting because they all fucking suck really terribly except for one. So I'm going to go through all of them, and we'll get to the one that's really cheap in a minute. His jumping A is very generic and shitty. Nothing very impressive about this. His while landing A, again, nothing impressive about it. Very shitty and generic. His jumping B is one of the worst jumping Bs in the game. It doesn't even reach if you're point blank and do it straight up. It doesn't reach. It's so shitty. It's literally garbage. His while landing B is also extremely shitty. It's like a jumping 2 from Tekken. It really sucks ass. You don't want to use that. His jumping K, up forward K, is the unblockable thing I showed you earlier. And his up K is hella fucking cheap. Probably one of the best jumping moves in the game. So it's funny because Heihachi has like the worst set of jumping moves in the game, but he has the best jumping move in the game. His up K is a launcher, it's mid, it's only punishable by very, very fast moves, and it combos into a death fist afterwards. So this is fucking cheap. It jumps off the ground instantly, it's very fast, it's a mid. Basically it functions the way hop kicks function in Tekken. However, that type of thing does not exist in this game, because in this game, jumping is really, really good. Really cheap to be airborne because you can't really be juggled because of the existence of air control. So you can imagine hop kicks don't exist in this game because they would be too cheap. However, Heihachi has a hop kick, and it is too cheap. 68 damage, instantly getting off the ground. So another bonus for Heihachi is that it's really hard to wake him up, because on top of having his while standing B, which is evasive on wake up and is a counter hit launcher, you also have hop kick here, which is really, really good and cheap, especially if you do it off the ground. So if they're trying to wake you up, you could just get off the ground with a hop kick and beat their lows. If they're trying to hit you with a B, you could do while standing B and beat their mids. So, I mean, he's really, really good at getting out of wake up situations. That's one thing that he excels at. So that's what he has for his jumping B. And he also has the while landing K, which you can use as a mix-up for his while landing B, which also sucks ass. So basically, the only one that you really want to focus on is his hop kick. I'm pretty sure that covers just about everything for the character. He also has this Death Fist that I forgot to mention. His Death Fist is extremely important because he needs to close space, and it's his primary whiff punisher. It does a good amount of damage into a knockdown. It also rings out from very far away, so you're going to have to use this as your whiff punisher. But other than that, that's basically the general idea for this character. He has a lot of unique things that are literally unique to him in this game. There are no other characters that share some of these moves with him, and some of them are extremely cheap, like breaking through bees and shit, like I mentioned in the beginning of the tutorial. However, the fact that his range is so short, so bad, and he doesn't have that many long-range moves to get in, combined with the fact that once he is in, if he is GI'd, he cannot 2G, which is a huge disadvantage in this game. It really makes him kind of mortal. Initially, I thought he was really, really good, but I think he's kind of a mortal character now because of those big drawbacks, and especially after picking him up myself and using him in a competitive environment, I think his downfalls kind of balance him out as a character. I consider him to be a relatively decent, at this point at least from what I know, basically around middle tier character. So if you're interested in him, hopefully this tutorial helped you out in understanding how he works. And if you're a Tekken fan, hopefully this tutorial kind of, gave you some of the novel, looks at what he has in this game. There's some novelty here if you're a Tekken fan. It's interesting how they applied him, because this is the Heihachi that came after Tekken 4 Heihachi. So in the timeline of Tekken games, the last Tekken version of Heihachi that came out before this was Tekken 4. So it's kind of interesting to see the development of the character, because there are some things that he retained from this game that he didn't have in Tekken. So pretty interesting. For example, this is one example. His down back A is in Tekken Tag 2, basically, and it was not in Tekken 4. So as far as I know, this is the first time he ever had this move. And then he retained it. And there are other moves like that as well. So I find it to be a pretty interesting character, especially with all the breaking through bees stuff. So yeah, basically, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, everybody. I am planning on doing another tutorial. This next one is probably going to be on Cervantes. So keep an eye out for that. And big thanks for subscribing and all that shit as usual, internet. So thanks for that, and I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy.